Hello everybody, this is Graeme and today I'm going to be looking at a game called MetroRunner. Now in this game, each player takes on the role of a cyber criminal looking to collect info to fulfill slightly shady, or you know what, fully outright illegal jobs. But you don't care what they do with the information as long as you get your influence and of course your notoriety amongst your peers. Now the basics of this game are actually pretty easy. You're going to be moving in a clockwise path around the board, stopping in districts to either take the location action or an action that's available in that district. Now the actions are mainly going to be about collecting info, getting new jobs, and completing jobs. But the main difference for this game is what's called a pan-up puzzle in the middle of the game board. If you can hack that, you'll gain even further rewards and of course, further notoriety. Now the book Neuromancer came out when I was a kid, and I've enjoyed that cyberpunk theme ever since. So the theme in this one really drew me to the game. But will it be as exciting as getting your first high-speed internet connection? Or should it just be tossed out with your 300 baud modem? Let's get it to the table, see how it's played, and I'll come back with my final thoughts on MetroRunner. Here is MetroRunner set up for 3 players. All the credits and cubes are placed off to one side, the job cards are shuffled, and 4 are dealt face up. The 4 contract cards are filled with a random selection of contract tokens, and the network cards are shuffled and divided into 2 and placed on their spaces face up. Place the pan-up pieces in the middle in a random orientation. Each player takes a player board, upgrade tokens placed on their lock side, their influence and notoriety markers placed on the start space of the appropriate tracks. They will also place their hacker piece on the hack space of their color. Finally, collect the starting cubes, credit, starting job card, and random job card from the top of the deck as shown on your player board. The start player takes the start player token. The game is played over a number of rounds until either one player has completed 9 jobs, a player has got their influence or notoriety marker past this line, or the job deck is empty. On a player's turn, they must move 1 or 2 spaces, but they can move more by spending cubes from their supply, or once per turn can discard a card instead of a cube to move 1 step. Players cannot share their space with another player, so they will jump over the other player's marker. A player must always move at least 1 space, but can move as many spaces as they can pay for. The player will then take an action of the space they landed on. They will either take the action of the specific space, or the district action which they are in. The space actions are acquiring job cards, that is, take 2 job cards either face up or face down. They can gather information cubes, either 1, 2, or 3, based on the position of the notoriety marker, or hack, and I'll come back to hack at it later as it's the most complicated action. So instead of taking one of the action locations, you can take one of the district actions, either collecting 1 cube matching that district's color, or completing a job from your hand. After completing a district action, the player takes all the cubes from that district's resource space, if any. The complete a job action, which again is a district action, is done by playing a card from your hand that matches the district you're in. There are border spaces that count as both districts, so it's your choice which district you completed in. The job cards will show you how many cubes must be returned to complete the job and in which district the job is in. Then all the rewards listed are gained, and finally, you'll slot the card into one of your 3 completed job slots at the bottom of your player board. Each of these slots can only hold 3 cards maximum, and once played in a slot, cannot be moved. Whichever slot you choose, you'll also gain the bonus of that slot. A freelance job, that is one that does not have a district, can be completed in any district. Some of the jobs will also give you an ongoing ability listed on the very bottom of the card, and all job cards will give you points at the end of the game. Let's get back to the hacking action, which allows you to attempt to manipulate the pan-up pieces in the middle of the game board. You get 2 free actions here, and an action is either to rotate a tile 90 degrees, swap 2 adjacent tiles, either vertically or horizontally, or shift a row or column. If you wish to take further actions, you can spend 1 cube for each additional action. Now the goal here is to connect the core hack nodes, which are the green lines in the network cards. You must connect from here to here. Now if you've unlocked the alpha and or beta bonuses on your player board by getting your marker high enough, you can also connect the alpha and beta nodes for additional benefits, but you must always connect the core hack nodes. And nothing can pass through the skull tile, but it can be manipulated just like an ordinary tile. Each character card also has a unique way to manipulate the pan-up tiles as well, but this does count as one of your actions. You can also receive brute tokens from rewards from other cards, and these can be used to temporarily change one of these tiles, except the skull tile. Basically, it converts it into a 4-white tile, and this is a free action. If you successfully connected the core hack nodes, then you claim the rewards listed at the bottom of the card. If you are able to connect the other nodes and have them unlocked, you also claim those as well. Then you flip the network card over and it will show you where to place cubes on the board, And finally, you just discard the card. So those are the basic actions from the board. You can also do boosts on your turn by spending credits, and these are free actions. They are listed on your board. Each turn, each boost can only be done once. You can move to any other spot on the board, flush the job cards, that is, discard and draw 4 new ones. You can advance your lowest marker 1 spot, or take an additional action, and this second action has to be different from your first action and has to be an action available to the player, either the location action or one of the district actions. The end of the game is triggered when one player gets one of their markers past the game end line, or one player has completed 9 jobs, or the job deck has run out. You then finish off that round, then each other player gets one final round and they go to final scoring. For final scoring, each player will add up their points from their completed job cards. You will then also see which contracts you fulfilled. The contracts are randomly created at the start of the game and consist of either 2 or 3 job types. To complete a contract, you must have the exact jobs in a single completed job slot underneath your player board. You can only fulfill each contract once, and the same job in a slot cannot be used to complete multiple contracts. Each player that fulfills a contract will score the contract points. You gain points for the position on your 2 tracks. Then you see who has the most completed jobs in their home district, that is, the district that matches their player color. The player with the most scores 5 points. If there's a tie for the most, then all tie players get 2 points. Finally, for all your leftover components, cubes, credits, tokens, and cards, you score 1 point for each of these 5 leftover items. Then, the player with the most points is the winner. Let's get back to see what I thought about MetroRunner. Let's start with theme and components. The theme in this one is fun. It definitely gives me that cyberpunky feel. Traveling around to collect info just to sell it on and working to get your notoriety and influence up. And the pan-up tiles that you're hacking in the middle of the game board. This kind of just feels right for this world. I do like that all the jobs you're getting have different names. Every card is different. And unfortunately, the cubes aren't really related to where you're getting them, but I always just felt that they were kind of nuggets of information you were collecting just to sell them on. So the theme is a fun one. Not one I would say is tied too close to the gameplay, but still a fun theme nonetheless. For the components, they were all pretty good, I thought. I like the cubes, but I do wish the cube storage thing on your player board was a different color, something like white or make a lighter color. On the black background, it does make it harder to see the colors of some of the cubes, especially the purple and the black when you have not ideal lighting. Because I didn't mention through the walkthrough, but at the end of your turn you have to discard cubes. You want to make sure you have keeping just the 10 that you want, or the 5 cards that you want to keep. Anything above that does get discarded at the end of the turn. I did like the holder for the cubes, and these player boards being dual layered, so the cards slide nicely underneath them. So overall, the components, I don't have a major complaint. The rulebook did a good job of teaching how the game plays. So on to the gameplay. For me, kind of it all comes down to that pan-up piece in the middle, that hacking action. The rest of the game is pretty straightforward. Get cubes, pick up jobs, complete jobs. We've seen this in various guises in many other games, but that hacking action is probably the most interesting and most detrimental to the gameplay. So the basic actions you're doing are good and enjoyable. I enjoy the thought of completing the jobs in my hand while balancing the instant slot actions, from when you're sliding them under your board here, with that end of game scoring, those contracts. Sometimes you really want to be able to move up one of these certain tracks. These 2 end ones allow you to move up on tracks. But it could break the potential for the 5 points to not be able to fulfill a contract. I like that those contracts are there, and it definitely gives you pause for thought when completing jobs, and even what jobs you're going to pick up. If you see a job that come up that will help you complete one of those contracts, it's probably worth jumping maybe to an action spot just to get them. And one of the things that helps you do that is another aspect I liked. I like the bonus actions you can take. The first part of the game, you tend to build up those credits, and you're kind of thinking, what am I going to do with these? But they become more and more important as the game wears on, and especially when you can see the end coming. I need to jump here to grab cubes, then jump over here to complete a job. I won't be able to make that just by moving around in normal, so spending those credits to jump was great. I always felt that the end of the game got more and more tense as you can see everyone's progress, and you have a pretty good idea of approximately how many rounds you have left. But do you have enough time to get everything that you want done? Never, but in my mind, that's what makes this game fun. But let's talk about that hacking space. Now, I really enjoyed that action. You look up at the board and try and figure out if you can complete one of those hacking tiles in 2 moves. You kind of look over that, and then you look at your personal thing, and it gives you an action there. Sometimes you sit there and see, oh, I can do it in 2 moves, but will it stay that way until it becomes my turn? And when it is your turn, do you spend cubes or more than one cubes to take a few extra moves to make sure you complete it, maybe some of the optional ones? Also, your player ability gives you even more options. And I love that when it was my turn. The downside of that hacking action is everyone's trying to figure out if they can do it in 2 or fewer moves. And so it just slows the game down. And playing with a full player count of 5 means the player's turns can take a long time because they're looking at their player ability along with the standard 3 hacking actions to see whether they can complete those things. And throw in when they've opened up those extra optional things, it's too long. 3 players really seem to be the sweet spot. You could look at the pan-up tiles and work it out while the other players were taking the turns, and probably wouldn't change too much before it got back to you. And some people I played with just flat out did not enjoy that puzzle piece of the game. So, would I recommend this game? Yes, I would. There's a lot of enjoyable play in here. Now, I liked the theme and thought the components were good for the most part. I like the variable setup, from the pan-up tiles to the contracts to the random player abilities. It can lead to some unbalance, but its games should be short enough that it shouldn't be a big problem. The basics actions are good and solid and easy enough to teach, and I really like the addition of that hacking action. It really kind of elevates this game beyond the basic actions that you've seen many times before. I did like the ramp up of tension in the game. You know the game is coming to an end, and you can see exactly what players have. So do you have enough time to complete the goals that you want? And that is always fun for me. It's almost like a race to the finish and see who can get there first. On the negative side though, I really thought the game worked best at lower player counts, strictly because of that hacking action. The more people you add, the more the game slows down. But the game length, that is kind of the number of actions you're going to do through the entire game, doesn't change. But the amount of time you're going to do them in just feels too long at the higher player counts. I'm still kind of getting the same enjoyment to get at 3 players, but over kind of double the time, and I'm not sure it's worth it. And I do worry about the long-term replayability of the game. Although I enjoyed my play so far, the shine is starting to fade on this game for me, and I definitely probably will never be playing this game above 3 players ever again. Overall though, I'm going to give MetroRunner a 7 out of 10 in the Dice Tower seal of approval. The basic gameplay is enjoyable, but nothing new. So it's going to come down to that hacking minigame. If you saw that and thought, wow, that looks really fun and interesting, definitely give this game a try. If you hate those kind of puzzles, definitely skip it. But for me, luckily, I enjoy the novelty of it. But that's it for the moment. Until next time, thanks for watching.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassel.